Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Paranormal Pursuit Podcast. Halloween is coming up soon, so we thought that would be a perfect topic of discussion. And we figured we should first discuss what is Halloween, because it's been around for thousands and thousands of years. The first, I believe, celebration was from the pagans, right, in the Celtics. It was called Samhain, I believe. That was the name? Yeah. But even then it was All Saints Day because the Pope had designated that and people dressed up as saints and they went door to door. That's where trick-or-treating came from. It was All Hallows Eve. Today it's Halloween. But I guess let's go back to the pagan tradition that went all the way back with the Celtics, like 2,000, 3,000 years ago. Because even back then, there was this stigma, I guess you could say, about Halloween, that it's when the veil is the thinnest and you can connect with your deceased ancestors. I believe that some people even like put candles and lights out so their lost dead ones could find their way back home. So, I mean, is the veil thinnest on October 31st?
Well, I'll just look at it from the point of view before saying before it became commercialized, obviously, and with movies and costumes and the whole thing here. It's a beautiful holiday when you think about it, because people are usually mortified at the thought of dying and or meeting, a ghost or whatever. So if you can meet your fears head on and celebrate death the way it should be, which is a passing on to a better life or better existence, I should say, it was a nice way to put it. And you talked about the pagans and the Celtics, etc. Even in Mexico, for instance, they have a wonderful tradition, which is the Day of the Dead, which is on November 1st. And they go to the cemetery and they sit down with their loved ones and they drink tequila. If that was
I like that.
Drink, and they eat,
And it's shot for you, shot for me.
Exactly. And it should be that way, I think, and not this morose ceremony or whatever it is when people die. Is obviously people are emotional about it. So it's just fascinating how it has gone over the years from what it was to what it is now, where you've got to have 5 Halloween remakes in the movies.
Right.
I think talking about, you're right, our culture, particularly here, taking out of the mix grief, our culture really does weigh more heavily and pay much more attention to the passing and the death, and not so much a celebration of life. And I've seen recently with, friends and even I just had a loss of a relative this past week.
Sorry.
That newer generations are moving towards celebrating someone's life and having, a memorial, but really a memorial that pays a tribute to that person and their accomplishments and their loves, et cetera, et cetera. And so, Robert, I think you're right that there's something so much different the way we view death in this country and our culture, and how it would be so much better if we could actually transition and move to a different direction regarding that.
Like celebrate death. Celebrate the afterlife. We only celebrate life and we mourn death, which is natural, but we should celebrate the afterlife too, because otherwise what do we have to look forward to? Like, oh man.
Right. And I think people did believe that the soul is eternal and that it does return and it's not just one life. I think that would really help people maybe move towards a celebratory type of event as opposed to an event that's just purely, as Robert said, to use his word, morose.
But is the veil the thinnest on October 31st?
I was going to get there. I was actually
Yeah.
I didn't forget. I think about actually, I wonder if everyone actually knows what that term means, like what the veil is, what we're referring to. Perhaps a lot of our listeners might not know what that means. And Maya, I'm going to give that one to you. Why don't you explain that one?
Well, I mean, I think of the veil of Maya, the veil of illusions, all different, but just the veil where, I mean, it's hard for me because, well, actually, I mean, there are times, or there are certain places that I go where I'll be able to see ghosts easily, and then there'll be times that wall will be very thick. So I guess that's one way to put it. But I mean, I think of the veil as the between the dimensions, and maybe sometimes the dimensions overlap. And then I guess maybe they're overlapping then.
That's very well said. That's definitely a good explanation. There used to be as we've been evolving as a group, as a planet, a group of souls, and different dimensions of energy, higher dimensions of energy, have been afforded to us, especially recently in the past 10 to 12 years. With that opportunity and our ability to ascend if we choose, what you would call the barrier, the distance between us and the other side, used to be much more dense. And with this new enlightened energy that we've been receiving to move into, that barrier, because it literally is like a barrier, has become less dense, thinner, more thin, I should say it that way. And so that's what the veil is referring to.
But do you think dense would be like cluttered? Would you say dense? Because even like for my own, do you think it'd be like cluttered with too many different vibrations, waves, this or that?
I guess you could say it that way. Atomically, structured so that being able to penetrate it would take a lot more effort and energy. And so, as that's happening, as the veil is becoming thinner, as you're explaining, yes, our ability to connect much more readily with less effort and much more rapidly with those on the other side, not just those that have deceased, but all on the other side, all celestial beings, is becoming easier and easier. And so on that particular night, on Halloween, which is what your question was actually referencing, is the veil actually thinner? According to some religions, Christian religions, the belief is yes, because the belief is that the day before, all souls are able to do what we would call like an Akashic review and pay penance or pay karmic debt. And so the next day, which is November 1st, which is an opportunity for those souls to actually ascend by paying off that debt after reviewing. So that's the concept there, and that's always been the concept. Of course, I'm using different terms.
Well, because that's new.
So it is thinner, and it is getting even more thinner as time is going by, the way we understand time.
So it's almost. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Robert. Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, when you say thinner, are you saying that...
Wait, what was it, thinner? What was that? Was that like a subconscious? Your hair's good. Your hair's good. You got lots of it. I won't.
When you talk about thinner, you're talking about people like yourselves who say they can communicate readily, right? So for everyone. So, but if you're someone like, let's say, someone like me who doesn't have your gift, does it become easier for me if I try?
I'm gonna correct you and say, and this is what I tell everyone: every group I do, every individual.
Everyone
session
has the gift. I know what you're gonna say.
Yeah, so you're psychic.
Okay, but like,
psychic.
Let's take the layman. Let's take the skeptic. Let's take the person who's not really into this and who doesn't believe in it or whatever. If they wanted to, are they more open to this, specifically on this date, on these 2 days? Yes.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
And so then I guess my next question would be, why though? Is it just because the way some of the organized religions like Catholicism have said that this is All Souls Day and this is when it happens? Or is there something more cosmic to it?
It's a cosmic gathering, so a lot more of them are around maybe.
Is it like the universe is aligned somehow for this to happen and the veil to be thinner? That's my question.
So I think we have it backwards. So I think it was a predetermined event that religion has commented. We have it backwards. So I think it was a predetermined event that we have it backwards. So I think it was a predetermined event that religion has commented on. That religion has determined it, and it has was that. So that's what it is. And yes, it does have to do with. I won't use the word cosmic, but it does have to do with a predetermined opportunity for us. Like throughout the year are different time periods in our year, our calendar year. It's already been built in. It's already been predetermined that different, more accelerated energies are coming in. And so during those specific times, and every year those specific dates and times change based on cosmic alignment, yes. But this particular day has always been that day, and it will always be October 31st.
Yeah, people made it out, at least today, it's a scary holiday. It's haunted. There's ghosts and goblins, and I almost wonder if it's more because what people don't know and what they can't see. If they see it, it's scary to them, or if it's probably a bit of both. More of like a control thing, like even by religions. Oh no, yeah, it's only on this day, and you have to go through us to be able to do that and to be able to talk to them. Like, I mean, like, why is it considered the scariest day as well?
I mean, I think a lot of that is folklore, and it's been passed down, handed down, right, throughout the years.
Folklore is supposed to be like bedtime stories. I ain't gonna make your kid go to sleep. It's gonna keep them up all night.
I think it's just been, that people have over the years that this is what this has been. Just like, Santa Claus, does Santa Claus exist? Well, over the years, what have we been taught? So it started with an actual St. Nicholas, an actual character.
Right.
But
that's not scary. I mean, I guess it is kind of this old creepy man watching you all day and night. He sees you when you're sleeping. He sees you like, psh, yeah, exactly.
I think I think another reason is, just as, let's talk duality, just as there's this ascendant opportunity, and the barrier becomes very thin, particularly on that day. So just as good can come,
bad can too, yeah.
So can low vibration.
Yeah, I mean, that does make sense. But they've also been doing a lot of studies lately with the whole social media thing, about like algorithms and how human beings naturally get drawn more to things that they're afraid of. Maybe they pay more attention to it. So I wonder if it's also just more of a human inclination to go to the scary than to the... I think that's changing now.
Well, yeah, people love to be scared. People love to be... they go to horror movies. They get on roller coasters.
I like roller coasters, horror movies. Yeah.
It's when I go on these investigations with Maya, I'm cracking a pickle. Even though I'm saying, come on, this can't be real. This and whatever, but it makes you pause, like I always say. So people love that stuff, and I think that's one of the reasons why it evolved. And of course, in the United States, where I think it really started the whole tradition of Halloween and costumes and dressing like the slutty nurse and all that.
Because it's the best people watching. You have some mimosas, bottomless mimosas, and you watch. You know who's doing. Yeah, you know who's doing the walk of shame because they're still dressed up. They're like SpongeBob, no pants. You know what I mean? And like their angel wings are broken.
But we're digressing into.
Yeah. Wait, maybe they might have had a spiritual experience. You don't know.
But I think just making it a scary holiday, to call it, for lack of a better word, is just something that came with the commercialization of it. So just like Christmas, we lost the meaning of the birth of Christ,
right?
Like that.
And Christmas was a pagan holiday too. They keep taking the pagan holidays and just slapping new ones on top of it. Mine. Exactly. Mine. How did witches get into this whole mix for Halloween? Pagan, I guess, right? Pagan is considered...
I think that witches are, objects to be scared of. Just think back to Salem and, that era or whatever. So, like I said, I just think it's fascinating the way it has evolved, and yet people forget or don't realize that if they're into what we're into here and discussing, that if it's true that the veil is thinnest, then that maybe they should be, if they really want to get, I shouldn't say scared because they shouldn't be scared, but if they really want to experience that kind of life-altering experience, then maybe they should use Halloween to delve into that next.
They should be wise. But they should be wise and try to connect with maybe loved ones that passed on, or their guides. Not go to a graveyard. That I don't not recommend in the middle of the night.
I think it would be wisest to. I agree with Robert. That's a perfect opportunity to delve into the psychic mediumship. However, it would be wisest to state intent first. Only those that are here that are not intending to harm me.
Right. Or anybody else around me, or my animals. Got to be specific. It's all that small print, right?
That's right.
Now, is the veil the thinnest with all levels of entities, ETs, or ETs it doesn't really matter for?
Well, for ETs, because of their energy and their ability to permeate that veil much differently, it's always thin for them, so to speak. So it doesn't kind of really apply for them.
Right. They have like the best internet connection in the world and the universe. They get right through.
They're there.
I'd be curious to see what kind of new videos pop up on the internet after this, because today people have cameras and more. I mean, like, I've actually seen some convincing footage of what looks like Bigfoot in ways that it's really hard to debunk it. There's been some really strange videos out there. Actually, a few that I had sent you guys. Should we take a look at them and just
see? They're kind of, one of them is kind of fun.
Yeah, but there's two of them that I found. They've been all over the internet for a while. Nobody's been able to debunk it. And since Halloween is coming up, one looks like a goblin and one looks like the best Halloween costume I've ever seen. Let's take a look at the first one of the Dobby being and see what you guys think. Look, you did a dance, a dick dance.
I really encourage anyone to say that that's not an extraterrestrial. And by the way, in some evenings when I've indulged too much, I've walked around with underwear on my head.
Well, I will say this, that Vivian had said that her camera, it's an outside security camera that once it catches something after 10 seconds, it shuts off. So she only got 10 seconds of the video. But, I mean, she sounds like she's legit. Maybe it's not an alien, but do you think it's some kind of being? I mean, like, what is that? Robert, what do you think that is?
I think I'm looking at the kid in the blue shirt sitting right next to his mother.
Right.
If it were just some being walking normally and not dancing and not, doing the chicken dance or whatever, doing his funny things with his legs, I would think that maybe it's kind of weird to look at because the legs are so thin.
Right.
The kid's even trying to do it, and he does look thin. It's exactly the same size. The first thing I would say is it's probably the kid playing a joke on his mother, or maybe the mother's in on it just to get attention. I don't know.
But it was in the middle of the night, and she said that she wouldn't let her kid out in the middle of the night.
Yeah, but I've snuck out in the middle of the night. I like a lot of kids have. They're putting the underwear on his head. Cute.
What do you think? Do you think this is real? Do you think it's not real?
Extraterrestrial all the way.
You think it's extraterrestrial?
Really?
Yeah, because I believe her. If you listen to the mother, she really put herself out there, and it's been on different shows. People have tried to debunk it, and nobody's been able to yet.
Remember what I said. I think it was 2 podcasts ago, and Robert had said to me, "Well, how come they haven't shown themselves yet?"
They have.
You're entering a time now where they're going to start to show themselves.
So, what do you think it is? What kind of ET do you think? It looks like a male to me, but I could be wrong. I don't know. Maybe neither sex.
Based on, it's a little bit of footage, right? It's not that easy.
It's almost childlike.
It looks like one of the earlier forms of Arcturians to me.
Okay.
Because Arcturians actually have that type of the body that we're seeing. They have that type of body, whereas even Robert referenced like really, really, really almost like pencils for legs, and they're not so. Their movement is more like a gliding, not really almost like somebody who's intoxicated.
Right.
Because they can't really function very well in our atmosphere.
So do you think he was just like skipping through dimensions, or do you think he showed himself? I mean, it looks to me like he definitely wanted to be on camera. It looks like he did it on purpose. Because he kind of showed off a little bit. Or maybe, I'd have to think if he was an advanced being, he'd be aware that there's a video camera there.
I do think that was done with purpose. I do think that there was he's not lost. He's not lost in between dimensions. I think that was done with purpose. Why that particular place? I don't know the answer to that.
And he's not scary. I mean, maybe he's the kid's spirit guide.
That's a possibility.
Yeah. I'm not disputing that there may be aliens who come to Colorado. I would love to think it is. I would say, wow, that's amazing. I go once in a while. I go on a deep dive into YouTube, and I go, wow, that's pretty scary. But it's also film, and you can do anything on film these days. Obviously, this one is so.
Yeah, wait till what I'm gonna do to your picture during this podcast. We're gonna all have like things on our heads. And no, I'd never do that to you. That's just cruel.
But this one, I'm not that tough enough to crack, Sandy. But this one, I'm not convinced. It's if you're a detective, you say, well, there's your likely suspect. Fits a description. Looks exactly like it, and it's you'd have to really convince me that this was an ET coming to visit a family in Colorado and opening the screen door.
I think that if nothing else, I think that our viewers hopefully will take a look and make some decisions for themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah. We can spend hours looking at everything that's on YouTube, and I would say that looks pretty good and that's pretty convincing. This one, unfortunately, not, and only because the likely suspect lives 20 feet inside the house.
Okay, so let's take the next one then. So the next one, this was filmed in Peru by a guy named Anthony Choi. I do believe that he's a paranormal investigator, and he had seen this entity before, and I guess he went back, and maybe that's a little suspect there that he went back. However, he had said that during it, he was almost like frozen, that he couldn't move, that the kind of like, because he was chasing it at first. But anyway, yeah, let's take a look, and you'll see. So it's this blue guy, and there's all different camera angles of it as well, that it's this guy whatever it is, and he looks like he's transparent. And it looks like he's trying to get away, too. Like, he does not look happy to be on film. He looks like to be hauling it on out of there. And maybe that's why that guy Anthony felt like he couldn't move for a little while, because maybe he had some special powers and said, you ain't following me.
This is the only thing that looks mysterious here is how the trucks seem to just like pass over him. Is that what it is?
Well, it passes right through him. He seems to get right around it. But I mean, if you're like a hologram of something, or you're in a spiritual form, I mean, I've seen cars go through ghosts all the time. Ghosts walk through walls.
Yeah. Well, here's two things here. First of all, the video quality is so horrible, and this is the digital age, so I don't understand why it's so obscure and muddy. Especially if this guy took the footage himself, and it's not like he's getting it second or third hand.
And he's a UFOologist investigator too.
Well, that was my next. I see him there in blue, and it looks like he is trying to get away. You really can't tell. You really can't tell much. But the other thing is the fact that he's a UFOologist and a paranormal investigator. These guys are looking for attention. They are looking for, any kind of publicity. So to go on a TV station with "Look what I found," and to go back to you told me he went back to the same exact place. I didn't read that.
Well, no, I don't know if he went back to the same place, but I think it's something that he had seen before. Yeah, it was in Spanish, so it was a different thing that I had saw that on. So don't quote me on that exactly, but maybe it was just that he was the UFOologist and a paranormal investigator. But if you are a paranormal investigator, or if you are in that spiritual world, your eyes are open a lot more to it. You're looking for it. Like when I go to the beach, I'm always looking for a dolphin, so I usually spot one. I'm always looking up to the sky. I'm always looking for UFOs, so I will see one before somebody else does. So you have to, put that into perspective too. And I see Sandy's face. I want to see what Sandy thinks. So.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what Sandy thinks, because it is.
But I think they're both ETs too, by the way, because I did research on them, and people and they had professional videographers try to debunk these, and they weren't able to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm teasing when I'm saying ET. Again, I really do believe that what he's caught. To be honest with you, I'm not quite sure if it's a celestial being that is come down. That's a higher celestial being, or it's actually an extraterrestrial. And this one, I'm not sure about it, but it is a being, a soul that's transformed in a different way. Absolutely. And I think what he said, because I was able to read it in Spanish, I think what he was saying is that he had seen the same being, the same soul before. Not that he went to the place, but he had actually seen it before. And there was some sort of maybe not a verbal interaction, but some sort of interaction had occurred before. Yeah.
Yeah, because he had said that he couldn't move after, like, he was trying to run after it.
That's right. Yes. So one of the things that I've experienced, and I think others that are in the field would tell you the same thing. When I've worked with certain types of energies that are crossed, or different ET energies, when they have the ability to usurp your energy, and so it's almost like you feel like lead. And you're like almost like you're in slow motion.
I know that feeling.
Taking words out, and it's not done to harm you. Most of the time, it's not done for harm.
It's like, yo, there's a truck coming. Stop! It's a busy highway. Stop chasing me.
Stop running after me. It's done because they're trying to prevent your movement for some reason. Like you were saying, don't come after me. But for whatever reason, again, and I want to emphasize, it's not really done to harm you.
Right? Yeah, I don't get that feeling either. Because if he wanted to harm him, he would have. And that's what aggravates me too. With some of these TV shows, they're like, and he barely escapes with his life. No, what? No, he was running away from him when he barely escaped with his life. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
and I think this is another example of, hey, we want to be noticed. We're here.
Right.
Whatever we are, we're here.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like when you do a paranormal investigation. There are some times that I get EVPs that it is so loud and so crisp. Like that one I got of Rosie at the Shanley, where she's like, I'm right in back of you.
It's so cold. So cold.
Oh yeah. No, yeah, it was a monkey. Yeah, and then there's other times that you just catching glimpses or little bits and pieces of what they're saying, but they're not directly talking to you. So when they want to be seen or known, they make themselves. Yeah. But it doesn't seem to matter anyway. Like what we see UFOs all the time, or UAPs. We see these and we see ghosts, and people are still, it's still like, to me, it's the most fascinating, curious thing in the world.
That's why we're here, right?
For a lot of people, though, if they can't experience it in their five senses, and it doesn't make sense, and they can't validate it through five senses, they stop right there. And it doesn't exist.
Right. Yeah, their minds can't expand any further. All right, so go ahead, Robert.
I was just going to say, I'm still looking at it. I can't make a judgment off of it. It's just muddy and bad quality, and doesn't say much. But it is kind of weird, and the effect of the trucks going through the entity is kind of bizarre. So I'll leave that one as to, I'm not sure. I can't tell. There's not enough evidence. The first one, I'm not buying the first one with the guy with the chicken dancer with the underwear on his head.
Okay, so this picture looks like, obviously it's an angel in the clouds, which I guess some guy caught. It's beautiful, for sure, but what do you guys think about that?
The angel in the sky, that's beautiful, and, everyone looks at a cloud and sees different things.
All right.
I think this just happens to be an amazing cloud formation with the sun behind it, and it looks, like someone with a shroud and wings, and it's beautiful. Let's say someone's having some sort of spiritual crisis, and all of a sudden and it's very possible that at that very moment they're saying, God, show me a sign, let me know my life is worth something, and they look up into the sky and see that. You have a convert right there. You have someone whose life might be saved just by looking at that. It's amazing. You rarely see something so beautiful. Is it a real angel in the sky? I don't think so. But it is something to look at. And if somebody perceives it as an angel because they need that at that moment in their life, then it is an angel.
It's a sign. It's a sign from It's a sign from heaven.
It is a sign from heaven for them.
Yeah, I agree, Robert. Like, definitely, it's a sign from heaven. What do you think, Sandy? Do you agree?
So I don't think it's a literal angel. However, I also think that spirit orchestrated the formation of those clouds to appear the way they do for whatever reason.
Mother Nature.
For us to perceive it as an angel, and yes, it can be because, people need signs or whatever the case may be, but I'm going to hone in on that's not just, there are no coincidences in life, and that's
Right.
not just arbitrary. Spirit orchestrated that vision to appear the way it does. So it was celestially orchestrated, yes.
Okay, that's an interesting theory.
Since a lot of people will be dressing up as angels, I'm sure. So let's take a look at this next picture. And I've seen a bunch of videos on these lately. And it's, I guess they call it like a white crawler or a night crawler. It's this two-legged thing that has a round thing on top. And but there's been a lot of video on them lately. And a lot of different people have caught them on camera and pictures of them. I don't know. Do you think that's real? Do you think it's... I mean, it's so like that. I would be scared of that. I would run the other way from. That gives me the heebie-jeebies, whatever that is.
That one is kind of disturbing to look at. Go ahead, Sandy.
I think it's my ex.
Right? Right, exactly.
I think I think it's actually a statement on evolution.
Okay, go on, expand.
And a statement on hybrid evolution.
It's a funny looking hybrid.
So is this the primordial fish that crawled out from the...
Because that's a theory too, by the way.
So I don't know what it is, but I think it's a hybrid. I don't know what is blending to make that hybrid, but I think it's a hybrid. And do I think it existed previously? If it has, it hasn't shown itself, so I don't know about that. Do I think it's real? Yeah, I do. I absolutely do. Do I think that this is, like you guys were talking about before, oh, someone's just making this up on a film? No, I think it's something that's real.
Yeah, there's been a lot of photos of those. A lot of different people have caught those on tape.
I've never heard of the White Walker phenomenon.
Or a night crawler, I think it was called. One of the different names.
Is that water in the background or snow or
snow? Yeah. But there's been a whole bunch of them caught on tape, on videos as well.
Always in a snowy landscape?
No. There was one crossing, running across the highway. I've seen a whole bunch of different ones, and they always look exactly like that.
Which is just legs and a
yeah.
Remember what I said? They're going to start showing themselves.
Well, they really are. I mean, I think it's a mix of everybody having a camera now, and also, yes, like they're certainly starting to. And so, what do we think about Bigfoot? Bigfoot's real?
Hell yeah.
And it's never hurt anybody. You've never heard of a Bigfoot attacking somebody.
I do believe that there are what we would call creatures, right? Beings that are live, that are here, that maybe have been traveling interdimensionally and perhaps settled and stayed for an extended period of time. And, things like that are referred to like the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot that really don't fit the current realm of beings. That's what I think. And I do believe that these animals, I don't want to call them animals, I'm going to say creatures, because that's how they should be referred to. We don't know if they're human, we don't know if they're animal, we don't know what they are, that they're real. I don't think this is made up. There's too much
history of people seeing it.
Sources.
Exactly.
Okay.
What about?
Okay, I'll just say that when it comes to like the Yeti that's found in the Himalayas or Bigfoot here in the American Northwest or whatever, yeah, there are. I'm gonna bring it a little bit more down to earth and say we have yet to discover every single species that walks the land. They're finding fish and mammals that they thought were either extinct or didn't exist at all. So what's to say that there isn't some sort of primate-looking humanoid that still lives out there and is still breeding? There's been too many, it's like the Loch Ness Monster, there's just been too many hoaxes, that's on top of like real sort of scientific studies to say that some of these are real. So you would have to really show me something good and convincing on video and be able to prove that the video has not been altered. with all the good technology that we have in order to alter it. For me to think that it's real. Remember that famous Super 8 movie where Bigfoot is walking and he's looking back?
Yeah, but that's so old. I mean, they have way different video now.
And it looks like a guy in a
Right.
pretty good
Right
suit, you know. Whatever. But I'm with Sandy. I'm I think there's a lot of creatures out there that
There's something to it.
discovered yet. Yeah, I'm not sure if it's something so extraterrestrial. I think it's more terrestrial. And, we just haven't been exposed to them yet.
Think about Mount Shasta, and think about the caves of the Lemurians, and think about how many people have visited Mount Shasta.
So many experiences.
Numerous amounts of people that have seen these beings that are, quote unquote, Lemurian cave dwellers. Now, that's kind of hard to deny when there's so many different people from so many different places that have actually encountered these beings. That's another phenomenon where you would say, well, do they exist? Well, how could you deny all these people saying they've actually seen?
Just like UFOs, UAPs. I mean, the Arizona lights, there's been so many. They've been caught on video and on film for years and years. They were drawn in pictures, but 1,000 years, and the cave walls. People drew pictures of them. Yet the human mind just doesn't want to accept it. Not my human minds, but
I would love to accept it too, but you just got to look at it sometimes with knowing human nature, and if you're going to the Himalayas to look for Yeti, aka Bigfoot, and you see some sort of primate, which is a snow monkey or an ape that lives over there, and you say that's a Yeti, that's your first reaction. Or if the people who live there, the Sherpas, I forget what the actual nationality is called. That's where the folklore began. If we're calling it folklore, they might have seen something and give it a mythical quality, whereas it's just, a creature that lives in the woods or lives in the snow. That's how it starts, and then, it just builds from there.
right.
So until we declare that it is some sort of mysterious animal or creature from on the earth that still lives out there, it's hard to say that it's really there. To say that it's extraterrestrial, that could be it as well, but I tend to think that they wouldn't be hairy beasts living in the snow.
Well, that's very judgmental of you. That's so judgmental of you. What if they want to be? I'm just saying. You're going to totally see some kind of entity or creature in the next few days now, right? You're going to get it on film. Yeah. They're going to be like, oh yeah? You don't think we're real? Let me show you. We'll show you. All right, but let's close out with this topic. I think it'll be great for our viewers and our listeners. So Halloween is coming up, as we know, and the veil is thinner. People, they go out there, they use Ouija boards, they call on the ghosts and the this and the that, and as we know, Sandy, you said before, yes, the veil's thinner, but for everything, for the good and the bad. Besides protecting yourself and putting your intention out there, and Robert, you could say, what you think too, you've done plenty of investigations. What are the signs that somebody should look for if an entity is possibly harmful? And you want to be like, oh, well, you get, the chills on your skin, but you get that anyway, especially if you're setting yourself up for that type of a situation where you're expecting to see something that may blow your mind. And as we know, evil can be extremely charming. So what signs... Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, like me.
Okay.
Well, one of my many aunts who are sensitive, say they're sensitive, she started messing with a Ouija board, and all of a sudden weird things started happening in her home. And she regretted it because things were breaking. She would see things in, at the corner of her eye, and she didn't feel like it was a good presence. She was telling me she just thought that she opened up a portal that she shouldn't have to something that was not there for good purposes, let's say. And so she stopped messing with it immediately, and after that it just sort of went away, she says. So I think you will know if there's something evil. Like you knew immediately.
We don't know with humans half the time. How would we know with entities?
Exactly. But you showed me that bite mark or that bruise that you have.
That was a bite down to the bone.
Yeah, and that's not monkey or.
Let me say. Wait, let's see. Wait, come here. Wait.
No,
I don't think so. I definitely don't think
That's just a
so.
big, beautiful blob of fog.
Right? Yeah. It's like this. It's. I think that the Nightcrawler comes from a little bit of this.
I think people will know if it's something that's out to get them and not there for something good, you know?
What do you think, Sandy? Is Monkey a Nightcrawler? No, just kidding.
Is Monkey maybe?
Monkey's my little. Oh, she's definitely part ET. She's a dog queen all the way.
I think that I tell people all the time when I work with them, and I quote, "Be careful what you ask for," because when you're putting intent out and you don't truly guard your intent, you can open portals to everything and anything. So,
And the veil is going to be thinner, so.
And you want to make sure that you intent literally only things that are here of light. That's very important. And I tend to agree with Maya, actually, Robert. I think, Maya made a really interesting comment. We don't even know sometimes when humans are bad. You're right about that.
Yeah.
So a lot of the sensations that you receive when a light being is coming in are not much different than when a dark being is coming in.
Right.
Because they mask themselves, but also...
Because they can lie to you. They can lie. I found this out very surprisingly. Yeah. But like as a young kid, I remember when I was seeing ghosts and stuff a lot, I'd asked one of my mom's friends that was very spiritual and psychic, and I'm like, well, no, it's a good angel. And how do you know that? Because she told me. She's like, they can lie. I'm like, they can? Like I was like, oh my God, really? Like, yeah.
Yeah. Let me introduce you to men.
Yeah. I was like 10 at the time.
When a being's coming in, you often get the same symptomology. You get the chills, but it's when a light being comes in and when a dark being comes in, you get chills. Something extreme as that bite, and I remember when that happened. That's extreme. And
extreme.
How you gonna know?
But it made me fearless. So. I'm not of entities, not of humans. I'm still afraid of humans.
One of the things that present company exclusive.
Yeah, of course. Not all humans.
that people should look for, to know if it's something that's of a darker vibration, is you tend to feel physically ill.
Yes, like your stomach, the pit of your stomach, right?
It's usually there's some sort of like you're feeling nauseous, you have a headache that came out of nowhere. And tends to intensify.
Okay.
It's really one of the distinguishing factors. Also, when there's movement, when you see spirit coming in and moving, similar to, I think you said it's your aunt that you were referencing, the pace with which they move, light beings can move a lot more quickly than the darker beings because their energy is different.
Never thought about that.
A darker being is dense. It's
Yes. These are really good tips. These are fantastic tips.
I'm sitting here and on the topic of things to be afraid of. So I'm sitting, it's not a basement, but it's a lower level in my home. It's a walk out to the backyard. And not until I moved to the North Shore did I ever experience these creatures. They're called hoppers. They're spiders, but they hop like 5 feet in the air.
Okay.
And you want to talk about it being afraid. Now, I'm like, I know they're not ETs. I don't know what but I do not.
No, yeah.
Are they spiders or crickets?
No, I've never, on the South Shore, we didn't have this. It looks like a spider. It has that formation, but it literally hops about 4 feet into the air.
Yeah.
So they hop like crickets, but they're spiders.
You may have to get a cat.
Right now it's staring me down.
It's okay. Don't you do it. Don't you move. Well, those are really fantastic tips. So if they don't move as fast, if they tend to move slower because darker entities are denser, and if you feel sick, any other tips? Because people, that people are going to be doing a lot of paranormal investigations over the next few weeks. We know that people are going to, even if they're just home, kind of be looking for that extra paranormal type of thing. And even just having the intent to look for it is an invitation, especially if you're a negative entity. Because apparently all the saintly ones are going to be at the festivals and celebrations or at their Akashic records. So, yes, exactly.
Yeah,
the other thing you want to pay attention to is that, you're going to their home. You're going into the other side of the veil. It's their space. You're invading their space. And what I mean, I'm using the word invading because when you have good intention, when I'm communicating with spirit, my intention is never to harm. It's always to open portals, to bring forth healing, to et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
But when you're going over there because you have ill intent, that's what you're going to draw to.
And the ill intent can be, oh, let me hear your screams. I just want to get let me aggravate you and upset you just to get a reaction. Like, that's not a good intent. Even if it's harmless, it's not as harmless as you might think.
Exactly. That's my point. That's absolutely what I was saying. Yes.
Yeah, that's why I don't like those shows when they try to like egg on the entities.
Dark attracts dark.
Mm-hmm.
Light attracts light.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
What do you think, Robert?
No, I remember years ago I went to a cemetery with a work colleague who was fascinated with this stuff. I brought my nephew, and we were in a cemetery in Long Island, and it was old cemetery too, pitch black, and we're looking around and we're taking pictures, and we're getting
never do
orbs.
that.
And all of a sudden there's a light, like a little glow coming from behind one of the tombstones, and it was a guy there, and he was there he was kind of weird, but he says, I come to the cemetery often. I love to look at tombstones and graves and maybe see what I see. So he was there the same night doing what we were doing, but he was just so weird about it and by himself. He didn't think we'd be there. And, I'm there with two people
Right.
and because, I'm always scared.
I think my guys would kick my butt if I went to a graveyard in the middle of the night for that reason. They'd be like, "Are you insane? Like, you're a lot of work to begin with. Like we really got to put us on this. Like, you're gonna take 24/7 security detail after that."
Yeah, but this guy, I don't know if he was there from bad intent. He was just looking for something. But
you sure it was an actual person?
Well, see, a while later, I thought if this were a movie. And, I would be, the character would be saying, yeah, I met some guy who was also walking around.
You'd be like, that's Billy Bob who died there, 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's the twist of the story. So was he a real person? I think so, because he spoke and he didn't float and all that. But that's a question that I asked myself. Was it a real person and not someone who was, who lived there, if you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, well. Guess you'll never know.
And it's you were talking about this also. October 31st is when Harry Houdini supposedly died. It's official that he died.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's his birthday. So on his birthday,
he's like slipping through the veil. Poof.
Yeah, they go to his They go to his grave here in Queens, and it's a little cemetery.
He's buried in. I would go see his grave. I would go see it. I feel like he'd be down for a chat, but I wouldn't go in the middle of the night.
No, and I think they lock it up now. But every year, people would go there and try to rouse his spirit and have a seance because he was into that. He was searching for the meaning of life after death.
Yes, I mean, like he'd be down for a chat if he was, or he'd be down for a chat. Yeah.
Yeah, if he was really there, he'd definitely make an appearance. He hasn't yet, as far as I know. But that's the same thing. I'm sure a lot of guys get drunk, scale the fence, and say, "Hey, Houdini, wake up!"
with the accent.
Queens, yeah. and they're
Yodini.
Yeah. So, yeah, you just got to be careful if you're doing this stuff, especially on Halloween.
Because that's when the veil is the thinnest.
That's right. And that's a good way to end this podcast.
There we go. Well, see that, everybody? So be safe, have fun, check your candy spiritually and physically. All right, everybody. We'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Next time.
See ya.